In this discussion, we'll talk about specialization and division of labor. Specialization is when we concentrate on a particular task, and it is important to understand specialization because in modern economy, we see specialization very commonly. Gone are the days where people are doing all the tasks. Now, what they do is that they focus on one thing, and that's what we call specialization. And once they focus on one thing or one task, they try to do well in that task, and that results in them to basically also earn larger income because of the fact that they're really good at it. Now, what is specialization? When we concentrate on a particular task, and the idea goes this: if you do so, you will have what we call surplus output, and then the surplus output can then be sold in the market and exchanged in the market with potential for gains for all parties. So, for example, let's say if I am producing something, I can make more of it and I can then sell it in a market. And I'll get some money, and that money can be used for me to buy something else. So I don't need to make all the goods. All I need to do is focus on some task and then specialize in those tasks, and then simply sell the extra output to get more money to buy the things that I'm not producing. So this is how the modern economy now works. Now, one kind of specialization is division of labor. Division of labor is when we are looking at a particular production process and we allow this production process to be broken down into smaller tasks. And the idea is that each person or a group of people are then performing this broken down task. So, for example, if I'm making a table, somebody will be cutting the wood, somebody else will be cutting different pieces, somebody else will then be joining these pieces, and lastly, somebody else will be finishing the table, either polishing it or, buffing it, making it smooth or something like that. So, this is a task which could be done by one person, but now is done by many people because we are doing what we call division of labor. Now, why do we get into division of labor? Well, because if everyone is doing a broken down task, which is simple and completely easy to do, what we're doing is then making them really good at it. And as a result of that, we will soon see that the overall production output will go up as compared to this task being done by one person. So one person doing the everything versus many people doing smaller tasks, so that when we combine together, we get the whole product. Let's now look at some of the advantages of division of labor for the worker, for the firm, and even for consumers. The advantage for the worker is definitely when you look at the output will go up, right? Because now the worker is basically trying to become better. So, from the worker perspective, the first advantage we look at is that workers can make the best use of their particular talent and skills. They don't need to do something they're not good at. So, for example, when you look at our table example, if I'm really good at cutting wood, then I will only be doing that task. I will not be basically assembling the table, and by making each worker be given a task that they're good at, we are actually going to see the output to go up. Secondly, the workers, because they're repeating the task day in, day out, they can increase their skills and experience. So now we are specialists who are trying to make sure we do only one task, and by repeating, by learning by doing, we are trying to become better at one task so they can increase their skills and experience by repeating tasks day in, day out. Thirdly, the workers can produce more output and can reduce business costs if they are concentrating on one task only. So the idea goes this that if the same worker is producing more output, automatically the cost per unit will go down because of this division of labor or learning by doing. Lastly, when you are actually making your business more money by reducing the cost, you can also be paid higher wages. So, from a worker's perspective, not only the productivity is increasing, but the earning for a worker can go up because the firm can now find it profitable to do so. Now, from a firm perspective, there is also advantages. Number one is that there will be a lower unit cost. Why? Because now the same workers are now producing more output that we saw. This could be good for the firm because now they have a lower average cost, and because of this lower average cost, they have higher profits, which could also be good because higher profitability will lead firms to have more money to be given even for the shareholders, for their entrepreneurs, and for their workers. It's a win-win for consumers also, because now the consumers are getting goods which is at a lower price, because if you look at a firm's profitability to go up, the firm can translate this higher margin of profitability into lower prices, which could be very good news for consumers, because consumers can now, from the same amount of resources, are able to meet more of their demand. Division of labor, however, come at a cost as well. So there are some limitations of division of labor. Number one is when you are doing the same job repetitively, day in, day out, it can become really boring for individuals and it can become stressful. And this can eventually reduce efficiency, because we are so used to doing a variety of tasks that day in, day out, same tasks can make it really boring for us. And if that happens, then people can find productivity to go down and efficiency to go down, which could not be good for the business. Also, the reliance on others will increase. Now, individuals are relying on others to produce goods and services. For example, for the table example, we saw that if somebody's cutting wood, he has to be there every day for me to basically get the wood from him so that I can assemble it if I'm the guy who assembles the wood. So the idea goes this: there is a lot of reliance on other. This reliance was not the possibility before, when people were doing the task from beginning to end. Now, we also saw division of labor to simplify tasks. Now, when the simplification happens, where tasks are broken down into really, really small sort of subtasks, the problem is this: that we've seen that recently computer controlled machinery and robots are able to replace people really easily. And now, those machinery and robots have basically taken the task of these repetitive manual jobs, which has led many low skilled workers to become unemployed, because now they're no longer needed for those smaller subtasks which was previously done by them through division of labor. So unemployment has gone up for workers because those workers are no longer needed, where the tasks are really simplified and machinery can replace them. Number four is the idea that workers also begin to take less pride when they are doing tasks which are repetitive. There is no sense of achievement when you are previously making the whole table. You were making it from the part where you cut the tree to the part where you are beautifully assembling it. Now you are just making a particular thing in the table, so there is no ownership as it used to be before. And that is also where the quality starts to suffer. So for example, let's say if I'm in an automobile sector and I'm making a car, but I'm only part of the pedals of the car, or I don't know, or the steering of the car, so I might not know the whole picture, and that could be kind of demotivating for me in that perspective. Another issue related to division of labor is the idea that you may also run the risk of basically depending on too much on others. So, for example, if one machine breaks down, if one individual doesn't come, then the whole factory can stop, which was probably not the case when individuals were relying on themselves rather than others. So, the idea goes this: that one factory or one machine breaks down, or one component of the whole task breaks down, you may see uh, a big problem, because the whole factory or whole function has to be stopped. Another concern could be when you are doing division of labor, workers are basically trained very narrowly. They are only doing a particular task, and this may not be good if, for example, they lose jobs. Why? Because now, if they lose jobs, they will not be able to find alternative employment, because they are very narrowly trained rather than broadly trained. One of the things that we talk about in terms of supply is the idea that people should be broadly trained, which will basically increase their occupational mobility. But with division of labor, that occupational mobility is very low because people are narrowly trained. Lastly, guys, there is also a problem about mass production. When you're looking at mass production or standardization, it's not really good, because everyone needs variety, and standardization has resulted in a lack of variety, which could not be good when it comes to people's well-being or standard of living, because everyone wants variety. So, to summarize, while division of labor is good for the workers, for the firms, and for the consumers in terms of lower prices, higher output, more productivity. It also has its issues of lacking variety, workers not really motivated to do the same thing day in day out, and also the fact that there could also be issues of unemployment if machines replace individuals.